We're on?
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 4, season 4. Easy to remember for a change. So, I got a question that actually, I want to provide some answers to that question, but it actually got me thinking in broader terms. So, I'll get into that. So, this is a question for Veronica. She said that she follows us, studies the game, but she, a lot of times, when she's training, she winds up in single leg X. And a lot of times she manages to get a sweep, but she doesn't know what to do after that, not a lot of follow-up. I hope, Veronica, if you're watching, I hope I interpreted your question correctly. So guys, if you knock somebody down, this doesn't mean a whole lot unless you can actually do something with it. Because if Enrique pops back up, this is not maybe an advantage, but it's not really a sweep. So you need to be able to get up. So the first thing is, when you actually manage to sweep somebody, is to actually pop up, and now you have a sweep. So it becomes a valuable tool as a sweep. So single leg X is a very, it's a obviously very popular guard. It's not that difficult to learn as a means to sweeping, but it becomes very difficult as a means of entering submissions. Because a lot of times a single leg X is used as if you can off balance the guy, but you don't knock them down. It's a good entry into legs. Okay, then you switch to whatever outside Ashi. You could switch to X guard. You could switch to reverse X. There's a lot of things you could do with it. That part becomes much more complex than just as a simple sweeping tool. So let's look at it one more time. What you can do. So again, I'm coming in, and now I knock them down. Can you pivot around? Yeah. So obviously, you have leg locks here. Okay. You need to make adjustments to your feet. Okay. The other thing that you have, I don't know what your level is if you compete. So a lot of times, obviously, you can enter into ankle locks. You can I actually like to switch my feet when I go into ankle locks. All right, because this is much more, especially if Enrique goes belly down, which a lot of people start to escape. Go ahead, Enrique. It prevents him from backing into me. If my foot was off him, he can back into me, and now, he's maybe not past my guard, but now it's going to be much more difficult for me to do anything with it. So I'm a fan of ankle locks from that position, and also ankle locks as a way to continue the leg attack if the guy successfully defends knee bar or heel hook or toe hold. Ankle lock a lot of times is there. So again, if you come into single leg X, you knock your training partner down. Again, you can make adjustments to your legs. You have some leg lock entries here for heel hook. If you just want to stay with simple ankle lock, I'm a big fan of just the simple grip, get it elbow deep. Because I find it much harder for me to, if I go, there's another version of this where you kind of grab shallow, almost like a guillotine, and you tuck the foot in. I found for my style of game, if the guy starts to spin, my hand starts to drift. Whereas if I go elbow deep, switch my legs, and then you can finish here. But if he spins, most importantly, it's going to be difficult, slow, and allows me to keep him away from me. So you have some entries into ankle locks or leg locks, obviously. And most important one is if you knock them down. So when I'm sweeping with single leg X or Ashi, I like to go, can you get up for a second? So when I'm here, I try to reach with the inside hand. What it does is it does two things. It gives you a little bit of a torque in that direction. Also, if the foot slips, I can just lift, and it's an easy way for me to get on top, actually complete the sweep. So Veronica, if you're watching, if you have some additional follow-up questions, start asking away. But while we're waiting for that, Mike, guys, it actually got me thinking more about broader terms of how do you choose guards? What is the best guard for you? And that is a very, very broad question. I actually wrote so far 2 papers to try to organize my thoughts. The idea is, guys, I'm not going to be able to explain everything or explain all my thoughts in a 20-minute episode, even if we stretch it out to 25 minutes. This is a very, very broad question. And guys, I'd encourage you to start sort of chiming in with what you view as what are the influences for choice of guard. Okay? So before we start that discussion, if you Google BJJ guard, you're going to get anywhere from probably 10 to 40 guards listed. There is no way that you can be good at 40 guards or even 10. You're going to be good at maybe 3 or 4, your go-to. If you're a higher level, if you're purple and above, you should know some of the other guards. For example, butterfly guard is not my go-to guard. Obviously, if Enrique is on his feet, he winds up sort of low, I can sweep him a butterfly guard. So I will use it, but it's not my go-to. And the reason for that is it requires kind of, decent amount of if you don't quite get the perfect angle, decent amount of lift in your legs. But it's a great entry into leg locks. So I want to try to stay with the big picture concepts as to how do you choose the guard that's appropriate for you. Obviously, your teacher has a huge influence on you, especially in the early days, because he basically, whatever he or she guard favors, that's the guards you're going to learn. Now, the question is, will they be appropriate for you? And there's a lot of factors that go into that. I encourage you to obviously train guards that are not, maybe you don't think they're appropriate for you, because you don't know until you actually play with them. Second, if you start to play around with a guard that you think is appropriate for you, if it's not working, don't discard it too soon, because there's some guards that are really, really good but take a long time to get good at. Third thing, guys, that may evolve. When you first start out, chances are you're going to be playing closed guard or butterfly guard, simple guards, and then as you progress through jiu-jitsu, your guard choices will start to evolve and change. So don't be afraid to make adjustments over time. Now, when your teacher chooses, favors certain guards, there's a lot of factors that go into it. For example, body type, obviously. The guy's 250, 6'3", and you're 5'1" and 135. You may have different guards. Personality. Some people tend to move slower, more deliberate. Strength. Some guards require more strength than others. Strength of grip. How much power you got to put in. Some are more faster transition based. As you play around with guards, if there's a guard that intrigues you, start studying it and start playing around with it. Okay. As I said, don't be afraid to make adjustments. Don't be afraid to sort of say, okay, maybe this is not my guard. But you play with a guard for a week, you will never find the potential of that guard. And 1 week is too short, even for a very simple guard. So I'm going to tell you what are my 4 favorite guards, the ones that I play. Probably 80% of my guard attacks are based on those guards. But also, what I've identified as a guard. So in my opinion, the guard must have 2 elements. To stop the forward progression, prevent him from backing out. That's almost by definition a guard. So, long story short, I don't consider turtle a guard, guys, because it does neither one of those things. Okay? So what do I mean by forward progression? Can you move forward? No. If Enrique was 250 pounds, he could move forward, but he's going to be pushing me along, so basically he's not getting any closer. Can you back out? Can you escape? Can you just basically bail on it? No. But guys, one other thing that I would like, and again, this is one of the guards, again, that you would choose, that you play around with, is based on your objectives. Your objective is, if you look at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a self-defense martial art, which I do, or you use it for MMA, you add a third possibility to that, striking. So for example, one of my favorite guards, obviously my number one, is split guard. Enrique can't really hit me. I can hit him. Okay. But he can't, well, yeah, that's not going to do it. But he can't hit me. So if you're, again, look at it from closed guard is very simple and it's easy to learn. The unfortunate thing with closed guard, there's limited number. So again, each guard has its benefits and its disadvantages. So closed guard, for example, has one of the advantages is it's simple to learn, pretty easy, quickly. However, in terms of what you could do with it, there's not a lot of submissions. You need to open your guard to start to go for submissions. So again, that's probably one of the first guards you learn. One of the things that you can do is cross collar chokes. But for if you're going to actually attack the arms, you need to start to move into other forms of guards. That brings me to another point. The guards you choose, they should be easily interplayed with each other. So they should be, you cannot just go butterfly guard and fails and it's sort of like, okay, what do I do now? So for example, I like perpendicular. So let me give you my 4 choices. Split guard, number 1 by far. De La Riva, perpendicular, and K guard. So for me, from perpendicular guard to K guard, it's a backup plan. It's an easy transition. It's seamless. And you need to sort of worry about that as well. So when you choose guards, guys, by the way, I'm working to organize this a lot more. Enrique, can you grab the paper? So guys, just so this is my second stab at it, just so you see. And this is just a couple of the guards I play around with. So some of the things I'm talking about is, again, what are some of the benefits and what are some of the disadvantages of it? And what type of body type does this appeal to? The other thing is, are you more, when I'm in my guard, when I have people in my guard, I plan to attack. Submission is my number 1 priority. For some people, it's sweep. So if sweep is your number 1 priority, the choice of guards are going to change a little bit. Don't get me wrong. Like for example, if I'm in split guard, so I get into split guard and I start to put pressure. Enrique sweeps himself. I'm getting the sweep. So the point is, sweep and submissions are not mutually exclusive, where it's one or the other. It could be one that's failing and gives you the other. But some guys tend to focus more on the guard as a first sweep, and only if the submission presents itself, they go for it. I'm probably the other way around, where I'm attacking with the subs, and if the guy sweeps himself, by all means do that. So again, I believe that a guard needs to have 2 criteria: prevent forward progression, or the guy basically being able to just yank out, either run away or step back 2 steps and reset. But I do believe, especially in my mind, that a guard should also be a good protection against striking. So I think, again, minimum 2, possibly 3. So it should fit with the other guards. Ease of learning, guys. That's a big factor. So there's some guards, like split guard is not super easy to learn. However, once you do, it becomes extremely dangerous. Again, there's a reason why it's probably my number 1 attack from the guard. And I consider Udagatame attacks, part of the split guard. It's just space. Instead of you having an underhook, I have the underhook. Now the next question, guys, this comes to your body type and personality. Are you a guy that likes to play tight and strong and slow, or you want to just try to play a little bit more fluid? And the pun was intended. Flexibility. How much flexibility do you need? If you're not a flexible person, I would not study guys that are extremely flexible, because guess what? That's going to bite you in the ass. So, yeah, if you could just put it back. So, guys, there's just a lot of different factors. And again, your teacher and your training partners will have a pretty big influence as to which guards you choose. Now, a lot of times, if you don't choose a guard, I didn't choose them, it became intuitive for me. It's great because it's sort of like you kind of just almost, over time, you kind of just realize what you should be doing. The problem is it takes a lot of time. So I'm trying to make your path shorter than mine. I try to do that for all my students, guys, and I consider you my students as well. So if you start to approach it not just from an intuitive perspective, and start to approach it a little bit strategically, meaning you start to look at, okay, what is my personality? What does my teacher teach me? What guards am I intrigued by? What is my body type? Which guard would I think that I would like to start to play with? And again, guys, if you start to decide that you start to play with a certain form of guard, stick to it. I'm going to go over the 4 guards that are my favorite. All right. And then and the reasons for them why. Other than De La Riva, they're pretty, I would consider them at the higher, it takes longer to get good at them. But when you do, they become extremely dangerous. And I mean dangerous, that's basically, it's quick entry into submissions. And a sweep is a byproduct. If the submission fails, a lot of times it goes into it. But again, I will show you also how the 4 interplay with each other. So should one fail, the other one is stepping in. So probably one of my favorite is De La Riva. And the reason for that is, especially when, you know, it's a little bit easier to attack when the guy's on the knees because he's not as mobile. But De La Riva, for me, I use it more as an off-balancing guard. So it's not necessarily immediately attacking. Yes, you can attack with it, but it's more of an off-balancing guard. And I use it as an entry into either arm drags or split guard. Okay? So again, I will start when the guy stands up. So, yeah. And now I have split guard. So from De La Riva entry to split guard is extremely easy and convenient, as you can see. It's a seamless transition. Now I have, well, you can, so yeah, so a lot of times in the split guard, high level guys, we're going to give you omoplatas, you know, start to roll, but basically it's almost an immediate attack. So you could see how a very simple transition from De La Riva guard to split guard puts him in extreme danger. So with De La Riva guard, that's a guard that's not that difficult to learn, but it's also more used as an off-balancing tool, not necessarily a sweep tool. It's hard to sweep a guy, high-level guy. Yeah, there is, especially with the gi, if you grab the sleeve and you really shove the leg down, you can sweep. There's no question about it. But for me, I use it more as an off-balancing tool, where the guy stumbles and boom, he's in split guard, which is my #1 guard, and it's a very, very hard, very heavily attacking guard. A lot of submissions from there, and if, like I said, I usually, when I put somebody in split guard, I either wind up with a quick submission or they sweep themselves. I don't have to sweep them, they sweep themselves. Now I'm going to also show you kind of perpendicular guard, which is one of my favorites, where I like to attack the arms. So sometimes when I go into split guard and the guy starts to, he starts to drive forward. When that happens, I start to go into perpendicular guard. Now, Enrique said, you know, if I can tie him up here, this is going to be ugly for Enrique. If I bring my leg over, if he keeps his head down, I don't even bother. But before I tie him up, and again, guys, you grab your shin if you do it. But if Enrique rips out, I'm going into K-guard entries. So again, it's the transition between perpendicular and K-guard is very, very, it's smooth. Basically, it's almost what he's giving you. He's giving you that other guard. You just need to learn how to make the adjustment from one guard to the other. I'm going to go over that again. With K-guard, guys, I consider it a difficult guard to learn. It's not very strong as far as preventing forward movement or backwards movement. However, it's a good entry into the legs. So if Enrique stand up for me, it's a little harder again. So I go for an armbar, it fails, and now this is done. So again, it was a very quick transition from perpendicular guard. So I didn't even, a lot of times I will do it if I actually close my guard and the guy stands up. So as he's standing up, obviously I'm going to try to armbar him, or at least threaten, and as he's withdrawing, I'm going into K-guard entries and knee bars, heel hooks, whatever you guys can think about. So that's just kind of my quick overview of sort of the world of guards and how you should approach them. Again, it heavily depends on your objectives. If you're purely as a sports BJJ, you got to look at things differently than if you look at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a form of self-defense, or if you're training for MMA, your objective is going to be dramatically different. But the guards I favor, they have at least 2 out of the 3 elements. Stop the forward progression, meaning that the guy cannot get closer to possibly hit me or you know, posture up and start to pass my guard. Or once he's tangled in my guard, I want to keep him in my guard because now I'm on a mission to submit him. And if that fails, I'm going to sweep him, or he's going to sweep himself. Mike, do we have any questions, clarifications? Or did I just run out of time?
Actually, overtime, but we'll fit in 2 short questions.
Oh, we already over time?
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta stop talking so much.
So we'll fit in 2 quick questions.
Sure, people like hearing you.
Adolfo is asking, Fox, do you play K-guard in the gi too?
Yeah, I've played K. To be honest with you, I've played it before I even knew, you know. But I wouldn't call it necessarily a guard. It's more of a transition period. But I think referring to it as K-guard is makes intuitive sense, and people know what you're talking about. So I've adopted that terminology. But yes, absolutely. But I've changed it quite a bit in the last 3 to 5 years. I used to play it a lot differently. Again, I would try to armbar people, and it would be an entry into a knee bar. Now, when I do the entry into a knee bar, it's a lot tighter than it was 5 years ago. So guys, you know, one thing, I've made a lot of videos and books and everything. You know, somebody looked at my guillotine DVD that I did on Jiu-Jitsu. It's good, but I think there's an hour of material on guillotine. The one I have on BJJ Fanatics is 3 hours long. So it's got a lot more material, but also, guys, understand, in 5 years, my game has gotten better than it was 5 years ago. It's evolved. My game constantly evolves.
Yeah.
What do we do on Tuesday?
A lot.
Yeah, guys, I would literally, you should, you know, maybe one day I release the phone contents of, you know, my game evolves, and in 5 years it's going to be better than it is today. So if I put out another DVD in 5 years, it's going to be better than the one I just put out, because it's just inevitable. It's not, I'm not holding back. I'm downloading everything I know at that point in time. And I'm constantly growing. So on Tuesday, I came up with 2 different moves. It just kind of, I play around with it, makes sense. I hit it, and I'm like, okay, this is good. Let me try it again. Let me try it again. Get his feedback. Does it work? And then I try to hit it on him live. Then I play with it in the pool, and then I start to hit it on everybody live. So, anyways, I forgot, what was Adolfo's question?
K-guard in the gi.
Yes.
And Brett Luder is asking, what are your thoughts on rubber guard at higher levels?
It's great if you have the flexibility. So again, guys, there is no, this is the right guard, this is the wrong guard. There is no such thing. Although turtle is not a guard, in my mind. But if you're super flexible, guys, I actually popped my knee. This going back probably 20 years ago. I didn't even know what a rubber guard was at the time. I caught a friend of mine, and it might have been this one. I caught him in a go-go plata. This. And I didn't even know maybe 25 years ago, I didn't even know what hit him. I just kind of relaxed, and my friend drove forward, and I heard this. I'm like, dude, why'd you? And then I realized I was going to say, why'd you punch me? Sounded like a punch. And then I realized it was my own knee. Fortunately, it swelled up like a melon. I walked on crutches. I didn't have any, so I used the baseball bat to support myself. I don't play baseball. But, you know, 5-7 days later, it got better. Anyways, long story short is I've come to realize that rubber guard is great for people that are flexible. I'm not super inflexible, but I'm not super flexible either. So, again, you need to look at the criteria. We're going back to the okay, what is your body type? Are you strong? Are you bigger? Do you want to slow things down? Do you think fast on your feet or, obviously on your back, on the ground? All those things, flexibility, that's another one. Again, I don't think rubber guard is for you if you're not super flexible. Medium flexibility, I don't think it's for you. And we're out of time, guys. So, guys, I'm actually sort of organizing my thoughts on this topic. I hope it's been helpful for you, and I'll see you next time. All right, guys, subscribe, like, share, please. And I have a lot of questions. Don't worry, guys. Every time I have a question, I take a screenshot, or if it's short, I'll write it down. Otherwise, I take a screenshot, and I have a running sort of tab of all the questions that we have, and I'm going to try to get to all of them eventually. See you next time, guys.